Hi everyone, and welcome to another rubber dance design team tutorial. I'm going to be using lots of different rubber dance stamps today, and I'm going to be showing you how to create a kind of ombre effect using alcohol inks. It takes a little bit of practice, but before you know it you'll have mastered that technique, and it's a really great background on which to use all your stamps. I'm going to be using stamps from Weed Love, Da Vinci, Stitch and Frame, Collage Elements 1, Happy Birthday and Funny Birthday. So you can see here that I've had lots of fun using and mixing together different collections of stamps and stamping on top of a lovely ombre background. So starting out by giving you the dimensions for the card itself. So we're going to make a card that measures 9 inches by 7.5 inches, and we're going to score and fold it at 4.5 inches. You can see I'm going to show you two different colorways today. So I've got two different card bases. I'm working in black, but you could equally work in another dark color such as navy blue, and you could be stamping in navy blue rather than black. Then you want some strips to create your border strips with, and mine measure 1 inch wide. You can see the centimeters appearing on the screen, and you'll be able to get a full list of dimensions over on the rubber dance block. You're going to be working on glossy cardstock, and for each card you're going to need two pieces that measure 4.25 inches by 7.25 inches. So two pieces for each card, one for the inside and one for the outside. And it's glossy cardstock. You cannot use photo print paper that's got a shiny surface because the alcohol ink will just strip that away. So you're going to place one of your glossy pieces of cardstock on a craft mat because that makes the alcohol ink much easier to clean up. I'm using two ink blending tools mainly because I'm going to be using a plain ink and a pearl ink, but you could get away with using one, but you will need probably two of the felt applicators that stick on them. I'm using a yellow alcohol ink and I'm using a pearl mixative and some blending solution. So you can see on these applicators I've got one that I've used the yellow and one that I've used the pearl mixative, which is coming up slightly lighter, but obviously because it's been brushed over the yellow it picks up the yellow alcohol ink at the same time. So working on a glossy cardstock, we're going to create an ombre effect from light to dark, and we're starting out with light. So what we're going to do first is just put one dot of alcohol ink, this is Sunshine Yellow, onto the applicator, followed by approximately 3 to 4 drops of the blending solution. So the trick is not to squeeze if you can help it, and just to let the bottle drop the amount of ink and blending solution onto your felt. You can see it's quite light, and the lighter colours are easier to practice this ombre effect with. They're a little bit more forgiving, and you can see I'm just using a swirl motion to add the ink, and I'm just keep working all the way down the cardstock until that ink runs out. So for the next step, and to emphasise that little cloudy structure we've created, I'm shaking up a bottle of pearl mixative, and any of the pearl ranges of alcohol inks need to be really shaken, not stirred. You need to give them a really good shake. There's a little ball bearing inside, and that mixes up all those little pearlescent particles in the alcohol ink. This one is actually called Pearl, so it is just going to give me a pearly sheen on to my work so far. So I'm adding a few generous amounts of drops of that pearlescent alcohol ink, and I'm just swirling it across my entire piece of work. And you can see there I wasn't really successful in moving those particles around, and I don't think the fact that my felt was very dry helped. So I'm going to try that again because I didn't get many of the pearlescent particles across my card. So if that happens to you, don't worry, just start again. Just slightly dampen your piece of felt with your blending solution, and then give that, I'm doing it off camera, that alcohol ink a really vigorous shake. This one's been in the box for a while, so I'm just getting that little ball bearing moving, and that will move those little pearl particles around. And I can see already it's not quite so runny. It definitely looks like it's got more of those particles in, and you'll be able to see that once I've swirled it across my ombre card base, and you can see there I've definitely got a bit more sheen going on, and it just emphasised that cloudy structure that we've created by swirling the ink onto the card. So you're going to need to do that twice. So that's all very good. If you've not tried this technique before, you can keep your worst one for the inside and keep your more perfected one for the outside. So again, I'm adding 1 drop of the alcohol and 3 drops of, or should I say, the colour, and 3 drops of the blending solution. You can see I've definitely got a much lighter colour this time round. So it does depend sometimes on how generous your bottle tends to be. I think that's a little bit light, so I'm going to go over that again. I like to leave these in so that you can see what to do if you end up in the same predicament as I have. It's just that little bit touch too light for my liking, so I'm just darkening it slightly by going over again with that 1:3 ratio of colour to blending solution. So again, dropping 2 of the colour to 2 of the blending solution, and starting about 1/3 of the way down, and again blending that colour out. And then finally adding approximately 3 drops of the colour and 1 drop, oh that was 2 drops, of the blending solution. And again with the dark, if that wasn't quite dark enough, you could go over it again with another application once you have completed the first application. You can see I've definitely got 3 graduations of colour going on. I'm liking this one slightly better. I might be using this one for the front of my card. And now I'm just adding purely the alcohol ink with no colour. And this time I'm starting in the middle because I don't want to darken that top piece up too much. So blending from the centre up and then from the centre down. And that just takes a little bit of the graduation and blends it a little more from one tone to the other. So as I said, try doing this with a circular motion, because it will be almost impossible to do this without creating any kind of lines with your applicator. So I get over that by completely making a feature of it and using that swirling motion to put the alcohol onto the card. This will be even more apparent when you use your darker card colours. Again, shaking up that pearl mixative and then swirling that over the ombre effect. And this really is, once you get used to that technique, quite quick and easy to do. So perfect for a card that you need to knock up in a minute or two. So just keep adding that mixative until you're happy with the sheen that you have over your work. And you should end up with 2 pieces for your card. Right at the beginning, I'm using lots of different stamps from lots of different stamp collections. All of them are rubber dance stamps because this is a rubber dance tutorial, but I'm mixing and matching all the stamps in my little collection of lovely rubber dance stamps, and that way I could create several of these alcohol ink backgrounds in different colours and then have fun playing with my stamps over the top. And you can see if you need to change colour, which is what I'm going to do now, you definitely need to get rid of the alcohol that you've previously got on your mat. So I'm just adding a little blending solution and then swiping over with a kitchen roll, or a piece of kitchen roll should I say, to get rid of all the ink that I've been using, ready to use my next colour. Because otherwise, instead of having a lovely pink background, which I'm hoping to achieve, I would have an orange one when that alcohol reactivated the yellow colour. So to create my second card base, I'm using a cranberry alcohol ink, and you can see here the difference using a darker colour makes. You can definitely see more of your brush strokes in the darker colour, and you can see here as I just add the blending solution, they soon blend out once you add that final coat of blending alcohol. Again, using the pearlescent just to emphasize that cloudy look that we've achieved. Now here, I wanted to leave this one in. I'm going a bit slower this time. As I added my light colour, I was thinking, oh, that's not all that light. And as I started to blend over the colour, I ended up with a lighter colour at the bottom because I added a little bit more alcohol, as you can see me do again, because I make the decision that actually I like this lighter section at the bottom better. So I'm making sure that I've blended that thoroughly across the card, and then I'm going to flip it over and then carry on as normal. So I'm now using the bottom as the top, and I'm going to carry on blending down. So now I'm coming in for my medium colour, blending that out towards the bottom, and then finally my 3 drops of the darker colour. And this one ends up being the one that I use on the front of my card because I liked that lighter shade first. Again, I'm starting in the middle. So this application is just using the alcohol ink. I was a bit aware that I didn't want too much colour on my applicator as I went over the light colour, so I just brushed some of that off onto my craft mat. And then don't forget, you need to make sure you keep the lids on your alcohol, and you also want to make sure you're working in a well ventilated room. Probably should have said that right at the beginning. I might add that as a note because these are quite fume intensive. They dry really quickly, but you know, if you're going to do several pieces like this, you want to make sure that your room is well ventilated. It's a bit like your nail varnish. It's quite a strong smell, and you are breathing in the fumes of the alcohol, so to lessen that impact, then just make sure your room is well ventilated. Just open a window while you're working, and the cleanup's easy. Just use the blending solution and a piece of kitchen roll. So I've got 2 colours. You could, as I said, have made several of these in one sitting. So I just wanted to show you the difference between working with the light inks, which are a little bit more forgiving, and the dark, which are a little bit more tricky to work with. Now for the fun part, raid your stash of stamps. I've been through all my lovely rubber dance stamps. You can see some of the things that I might use. I end up not using this one as it happens, and I go and get another set for my second card. I've got some elements that I will repeat on both cards, and some elements will be unique to each of the 2 different card designs. So I'm going to get stamping. I'm using an archival ink. Like I said, if you'd made a blue card base, you could easily use a navy blue archival ink, but I'm using black, and I'm going to be repeating some of the stamp designs. But the first thing that I want to do is I've got my 1-inch strip of card, which is going to be a decorative band across my card design, and I'm just positioning it where I want it to sit on the card front, and then very lightly drawing its position with a pencil, and that will become more clear to you a little bit later on why I've done that. And now I am ready to stamp. So as I said before, some of the elements are going to be repeated on all 4 pieces of cardstock. So I'm going to be using this little stitch stamp, so this little set of kiss stitching, and I'm going to do one on the right hand side of the card and one across the top, and I'm going to repeat that on all 4 pieces of card. Now, one word of warning for you: when you're stamping on a glossy surface, just be a little bit careful how you place the stamps because they can have a tendency to slide, and after doing all that work with your ombre effect, you want to be as careful as possible not to let that happen. I've also got this little ruler, old-fashioned ruler stamp, which I'm stamping at the bottom and again on the opposite side to the stitching. So sort of creating a frame at the moment, again working on all 4 pieces of card. This would be 2 if you're only making 1 card. So these are my sort of border elements, if you like, and I just want something to go in the two corners that I've got left, and I'm thinking I might use the watch or the stopwatch or the fob watch. I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's a fob watch, and I'm also going to be using the butterfly wings. This time I'm going to make a choice, and I'm going to do the watch on the red card, and I'm going to do the butterfly wings on the yellow card. I just had to trim that stamp down, and now I am, and you can see here something about the rubber dance stamps. They're made out of red rubber, and they really have a brilliantly etched image, lovely deep etched image. And most of the time you will see me stamping with these stamps. I don't use any kind of mounting at all, which is testament to how well they are made. I do sometimes for the larger stamps stamp onto a little cushion mat, but for all of the smaller stamps and all of this stamping that you'll see me do here, I am just using the rubber mounted onto my acrylic block, and I get a lovely image time after time. And it is one of the reasons that I love these rubber dance stamps. And I've got my frame finished. I'm just using my heat gun to dry off the stamping that I've done so far before I move towards stamping more in the middle of the card. Now the reason I'm doing that is because the archival ink does take a little bit longer to dry on this kind of surface, and I don't want to smudge the images that I've got so far. I'm using a post-it note as a mask, and I've just put it across the top line that I drew where the band is going to sit, and you'll see why I'm doing that later. If you're using a strip of card with no holes cut into it, you won't need to actually do this piece, but I'm going to be using a punched lace strip across my card for decoration, and I don't want to be able to see all the stems of the flowers. So the first thing that I'm going to do is stamp my little greeting, and I've got one card that's a little bit funny and one card that is normal happy birthday greetings. So this one's 1 year older, none the wiser. That comes from the funny stamp set. And then I'm using these gorgeous silhouette stamps of beautiful weeds and wildflowers, and they're actually called Weed Love, and I just love that image against that ombre background. And I'm just creating a cluster of these. I don't know what kind of weeds they are. Might be cow parsley, I don't know. Somebody who knows a little bit more about wildflowers and weeds will know what kind of flower silhouettes I'm stamping on my card. So just create a pleasing arrangement, and then you can peel away that post-it note, and that's one card ready. So this one is the actual inside of the card, so I just want to stamp my birthday greeting, and I've chosen one or two from the happy birthday stamps. Hooray, it's your birthday, let's party. I think that goes with the 1 year older, none the wiser stamp. And now I'm going to again mask off the area where my little decorative band is going to sit. As I stamp a little compilation using one of my favourite stamps, which is the daisy stamp from the Da Vinci set, I wanted to tell you and remind you about a giveaway going over on the Rubber Dance blog. Bibby is celebrating her 1 year anniversary with a massive giveaway. She asked all of the design team to pick out their favourite 3 stamps, and they are going to form the prize packages that she's giving away over on her blog. So it's worth going over there and joining in the blog hop. It's still running. You get to visit with all of the team members of the Rubber Dance design team, as well as the lovely Bibby herself. You can get lots of ideas from our favourite projects that we've been creating with our favourite stamps, and I share 3 of my favourite stamps with you, as well as I think slightly more than 3 projects that I use them in, obviously over on my blog. So look out for the links at the end of this video, and please join in that giveaway. It's lots of fun and you could win stamps. So I'm going to be using this daisy stamp, and you can see that I'm being careful about how much of the stem that I ink up, and then I'm gradually positioning the stamps so that I end up with a little cluster of daisies on my card. I could use masks, so I'm taking a little bit of a risk here, but I'm thinking because I'm working in just the black on the plain background, it is going to be a little bit forgiving if I make a slight wobble or mistake. And then I'm using the second daisy stamp, which is one that's, I think it's seen better days rather than is just coming out, and adding a little bit of interest to my cluster of daisies. So you can see I've got a little bit of an overlap there, but because of what I'm going to do next, that won't matter at all. So I've got a lovely array of daisies, and we're ready to move on to the next step. So before you start to put your cards together, make sure that archival ink is nice and dry. We don't want to have done all that lovely stamping and then smudge it as we put the card together. So just give it a quick blast with your heat gun, or leave it a few minutes to make sure that everything is nice and dry. I'm going to be putting my card pieces together using glue. So as usual, I'll be using my Cosmic Shimmer glue to add the pieces to the card, but you could equally be using double-sided tape if you want to. So just adding a little bit of glue to the back of what will be the inside of my card, and then centering it on the card base. So I've got a lovely fine black frame which frames all your artwork and really showcases that gorgeous ombre effect that we've created with the alcohol inks. And then I'm going to do the same for the piece for the inside of the red card. So for the decorative strip on your card front, you could use a number of different things. I'm going to be using a lasse die by Cart Us, and I've had it in my collection quite a long time, and it really makes easy work of a lovely lasse finish. Sometimes you do lasse with a two-tone cardstock, but I'm doing it with the plain black strip, and I'm just using my Cuttlebug to punch that lasse design into the two little black strips that I cut out earlier. And I'm going to show you how easily that they fold up and create a really lovely decorative border. So I'm going to just run through it on screen, and you can sort of get the gist of what I'm doing, and then I'll zoom in so you can really get to grips with what's going on with this technique. Now, as I said before, sometimes people create them with two-tone strips of card, so that when you flick these pieces over, they reveal another card colour underneath. But because we're going to be placing this on that vibrant background, you'll still be able to see the lovely design once we have finished. Now, alternatives to this is a lovely strip of decorative ribbon, or you could punch a border using a border punch stamp. So, or equally, you could use another kind of decorative strip die. Now, I'm just making sure that as I add my glue, that because I know I'm going to trim this strip down, that the front edge of the design is not cut through, because that is where all the linking starts. But then I've got a little bit of glue on that panel at the end, so that all those pieces will stay in place as I attach that lasse strip, or lasse strip. And you can see it really does give a nice effect on this particular card design. So as I said before, I'm going to zoom in a bit now. You can see I'm just peeling the die away, and there's only one little section that creates a hole. Everything else are little crescent shaped nicks. So zooming right in, and what you're going to do is push that little loop of card forward and then tuck it under the little tab of the preceding cut. Now, we used to do these many moons ago using a brass stencil and a craft knife to cut these little strips, so this definitely makes light work of a lovely finished strip. So I'm just pushing each of those little crescent strips and tucking them under the little tabs previous. So like I said, I'm adding glue along both edges of the strip as well as the beginning, and then just choosing, because I'm not quite sure where I'm going to trim, to go across a couple of those end pieces on the right hand side, attaching it to the card, making sure that it's got a little bit of adhesion, and then flipping it over. You can see where I've added that extra glue at the end will make sure that nothing comes away as I trim that lace strip, or lace strip. Lace, potato, tomato, tomato. I'm not going to sing. I'm definitely not going to sing. Just getting rid of a little smudge that I created there. So remember what I said about drying your ink before you start to put your card together. Zooming back out and then adding the finishing touch with my Uni Posca pen. This is a lovely white pen. It's definitely a dense white, which is what you need to just pick out some of the details of your stamping. So I'm offsetting the little kiss stitch detail with my white pen. And then it's up to you which details you choose to pick out on the stamps that you might have used on your card design. So just adding a little highlight to my wildflower stamps. And then I think I'm going to add a little bit of detail into the bezel or the edge of the watch. I think it's the case rather than the bezel. And repeating that on the inside of the card. And around some of the letters. If you make a little mistake, you can always come back in with a black pen and rectify any mistakes that you make on the stamping. I always feel like I go on to a little fast motor as I get towards the end of my card with my voiceover. So I'm just going to point out to you that if you're using a white pen such as this on the inside of your card, make sure you dry it before you close the card. You in all likelihood are using slightly different stamps to me, so you'll have to pick out the pieces that you choose to highlight with your pen, but it really does give that little finishing touch to this technique and card design. I really hope that you have fun trying out this ombre technique. Once you master it, it really does make a quick but very effective birthday card, and always one that you can make in a hurry if you, like me, are not very organised on the birthday card front. And I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. So, deep breath as I go into the final dialogue. Don't forget to click on the link at the end of the video, which will take you back to my blog, where you can hop, skip and jump over to Bibi's blog. There you will find these card dimensions, as well as that blog hop I was telling you about, and that fun giveaway to help Bibi celebrate her 1-year anniversary. And don't forget, you can win lots of stamps, including that daisy stamp there on the yellow card. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button and the share button. Any of those buttons will do for me, because it just means you help promote my video by the liking and the sharing that you do, and it helps grow my audience so that I'm sharing this creativity with lots of lovely crafters out there, and I do thank you for all the buttons that you press. So until next time, thank you for watching. So click on this link if you want to hop, skip and jump via my blog over to the Rubber Dance blog to join in that fun blog hop, as well as pick up the card dimensions for this card. Alternatively, if you want to see another of my favourite stamps, why not click on this tutorial where I show you how to make this journal page, which has a little secret place to store your resolutions. And my third pick for favourite stamp was this lovely shell, and I'm going to give you the link to the tutorial that shows you how to make the first card that I ever made for the Rubber Dance design team. And then last but not least, I always like to share a link back to my Etsy shop. This is where I sell online workshops for bigger items like this pyramid mini, and inside this mini there are two surprises. You've got room to add photographs in a little album which sits in the drawer section of the pyramid, and your pyramid opens up to reveal a beautiful surprise within. So click on this link if you want to check out more of my online workshops.